And we are live. Good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning, depending upon where you're listening to this podcast. Alright. I have Jensen here with me, and this is just going to be a relaxed little chat. All right. Right, and
Sorry.
seriously, it's just going to be relaxed. Well, that's the intent anyway. Whether it stays there, we don't know.
Yeah.
That's a separate issue. Depending upon how things go. But it's not my intention to sit up there and create havoc in this world destruction today. I'm not going to breathe any. It isn't my intention to breathe fire and brimstone on anybody. All right.
Yeah, you're an innocent little bunny today. I get you.
I didn't say I was innocent. I just said that I'm not intending to breathe fire on anybody. All right.
Okay. Alright. Fair point.
Now, all that being said, okay, the reason I was doing this stream is, as you know, I do several different things. Right. One of the things that I do take a look at, or I attempt to take a look at, is listen to sports commentary. Okay. Now, the reason I used to listen to sports commentary and the reason I listen to sports commentary now are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
I used to listen to sports commentary. Hi, Matt. This is not going to be ranting and raving, so it's not going to be like my normal show. Well, that's the intent anyway. But the reason I used to listen to sports commentary was to get away from politics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Now I watch sports commentary to see what people are saying about politics. Okay. Seriously.
Fair point.
Right. And there are a number of stories that are somewhat related to the, the political world in sports commentary that is being presented. Now, I watch a number of different podcasts that people put together of certain individuals, all right, that are well known within the sports commentary community, right? People like Skip Bayless, people like Shannon Sharp, all right. I do not really subscribe to ESPN. I don't really care so much what they do, all right. In and of itself, but that doesn't mean that I'm unaware and don't see anything from them. Okay. We'll see about that, right? Now, the thing is with as with all reporting, right? When these guys are reportedly sports news reporters, right?
Yes.
But I think of reporters as vermin. Okay, not the reason I think of reporters as vermin isn't because of certain things, right? And what I was listening to was a podcast by a different gentleman. His podcast was called Dreamer Pro. Okay, and I have nothing wrong with the podcast of what he was saying or anything else, right? He was commenting, however, on a quote unquote dust up between Draymond Green, all right, who, for those who don't know, Draymond Green is a current NBA player who is trying to branch off and start a podcast, and a guy named Skip Bayless, all right, who is he's a sports reporter that's been around for forever and a day, right?
Huh?
And you have this quote unquote fight between old media and new media, blah blah blah. Okay, but reporters are vermin. It doesn't matter whether you are an NBA player or not. It doesn't matter whether you came from the old media or not. The reason I say that reporters are vermin, for them, which they are in my opinion, has to do with you're not who you think you are. Okay, you're giving your opinions on things. You're putting out a story. You're trying to quote unquote tell people a truth. That's fine, but to be honest, most people see you for, or at least I see you for what you are. Is you're just trying to give your opinion. Something that I do on this show all the time. right? Now, I don't come across as polished or any of the rest of this because it's not my intent, number one. All right, I don't intend to make this a career. It is not my job. Okay, and the one thing that I don't want to ever get people to misunderstand is I am not here to be quote unquote the second, Rush Limbaugh or the second, whatever commentator you want to put out there, right? And make it big. That has never been my intent. Okay.
Okay.
And the reason for that is I have a job.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm coming out here, and I'm going to be real blunt, to generally blow off steam and have a little fun with it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when people hear me ranting and raving, they think that I'm going to have a heart attack. I think I'm going to have a stroke, or they think I'm going to have everything else because I don't, I'm going ballistic on things. To be honest, that's me blowing off steam.
Yeah.
It's me being bombastic. I at that point in time, I'm being no different. All right. I see you're having a lot of fun chatting with Matt.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be any less bombastic than Trump's commentary is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, what they're looking at now. Oh, Trump said this, and Trump said, oh, he was going to try and storm the Capitol, and he wasn't. They're taking the entire thing completely out of context, as if the attack on the Capitol was an attack on the Capitol, and it wasn't an attack on the Capitol, and everybody knows it. The problem with what they're doing in this testimony, and it's a bit sidetracked right now, is all these idiots keep going there. Well, this is like Conway. This is the most astonishing testimony I've ever heard. You could litigate our 1,000 years and never see anything as mind-blowing as this. You will remember where you were when you heard her testimony. No, you won't.
Mm-hmm.
Because her testimony is shite. Okay?
Yeah.
It means nothing. It's only full of innuendo. Okay, so Trump wanted to go to the Capitol. And? Is there a problem with him walking into the Capitol? Is there a problem with the President of the United States walking into the Capitol?
Which is what I was going to say. Yeah.
Okay? Now, the Secret Service are there. Well, there are people with guns. He's like, I don't care. They're not going to shoot me, all right? And that's what. And then Secret Service, their job is to protect the president. Their job wasn't to say, "Oh, they were preventing him from storming the Capitol and taking on the ramparts." It's as if somehow they blocked him, all right, from charging up San Juan Hill, right? That he was going to take it by storm. These people are just outrageous with the commentary that they're making, all right?
Yeah.
Now, but back to what I was starting with. All right, getting a little sidetracked here. This guy comes on and he talks about how Draymond Green is not taking his podcast seriously. He's not putting in the time. He's not putting in the effort. All right, to be a reporter and to do things and so forth. And that if he challenged Skip Bayless, because Skip Bayless said, "Look, you wanna talk about what I've done with this little beef up? Let's have it out. Let's come on to my show, or I'll come on your show. Whatever you want. We'll discuss this." Right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're acting all sanctimonious. Okay. Now, Skip Bayless is trying to entertain, right, on his show, right? And one of the other basketball players is a guy named Westbrook, well-known NBA player. Okay. Well, this year, Skip Bayless stopped calling him Westbrook and started calling him Westbrick, as if he's that he's putting up bricks, right?
Mm-hmm.
It made Trump sound much more awesome than he really is. I wish it was true. To a large extent, yeah. What they were trying to say. It's what I don't think a lot of these people understand is that there's a lot of people who wish that that's what Trump was trying to do.
Yep.
There are. And I can't deny that there are not people like that. But as far as there were weapons at the come off it, folk. There were hardly any weapons at all at the Capitol, or they they were not under threat. The idea that these people were under threat is just it's overstated. Okay, it's overstated. Right when you're
Dude,
dealing
take
with
a look what Matt has. Just take a look.
Trump fought off a dozen Secret Service members of the Bear Head trying to get to the Capitol and lead the army to destroy our sacred democracy.
That is awesome.
That's how these people do view it, though.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'll be honest with you. That's what these people were thinking. Trump was if Trump was trying to go to the Capitol, all right, and I'm not going to say that he wasn't, right? The reason he wanted to go there was to sit up there so he could walk with the people and be part of the people. The guy is P.T. Barnum. He's a carnival barker.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He's not unintelligent, right? But when it comes to this kind of a role, he loves the spotlight, and he would be the spotlight, right? And he would make it about him. Okay, let's be honest. I'm not going to deny that's who he is. That is who he is.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, the commentary that they're making just shows you that they're out of touch with reality, right?
Yes.
All that you're showing here in this whole thing, and the outrageous tweets that are coming out from the left, are an example of why you can't do this thing. But back to the Skip Bayless thing and everything, right? Now this guy was commenting about, like I said, with Draymond Green, that if he had ever, Draymond Green had ever go on the thing, that he would get shellacked by, verbally shellacked by Skip Bayless, right? Because Skip Bayless takes his job seriously as a reporter, and that somehow, Draymond Green, because he's never played, Skip Bayless was never an NBA player, an NBA professional player, somehow can't talk about the game, can't talk about the issues and things, and like I said, Skip Bayless was calling Westbrook Westbrick, right? Because of his play was, subpar, right? In his opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna argue about this one way or another, and the reason for it is because I don't watch the games. Okay. And this guy who was making the commentary, he was like trying to say his big point is that he puts in a lot of work, all right, and that in order to do this correctly, he watches these games, but he puts in a lot of the work. He does a lot of background work. Okay, he takes his job seriously, right? That they prep for these shows. Okay, and I understand that, and I believe that the reporters and in these people and things like that, yeah, they do prep. Okay, I don't deny that there's hard work involved in this. Okay, so when I call somebody vermin, I'm not saying that they're just that they're not trying, right? That they're not trying to entertain, that they're not trying to tell people what their personalities are or anything else. I'm just saying that you're doing it from a specific point of view, and for the most part, they have access to the grind. Okay, they have chosen sides, as you will, all right, between certain people, all right, and certain players and certain teams and themselves. Now, I'm not saying that there's nothing per se wrong with that, right? But you're not being honest, okay, if you're not trying to present both sides.
True.
Now, you don't have to be perfect at this, but you should at least be willing to listen to the other side and so forth, and do this. And let's be perfectly frank, most journalists don't care about the other side.
No.
Okay? And when you're trying to be an entertainer, okay, entertainment, it's easier to appeal to emotion as entertainment rather than logic. Okay? When you're out there trying and you want people to give you their money just because you're speaking to them. You're trying to just entertain them, right? If you're trying to do songs and dance, well, I like your singing, I'll give you money, all right, so I can listen to you sing, or I can watch you do a play, all right? Well, these guys like Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe, right? And Shannon Sharpe was an NFL football player for people who don't know. These guys they're there to entertain. And they're trying to give the best entertainment they can to whatever audience it is possible. But that's not
Makes sense.
That's not journalism, though. Okay, and that's why I call these guys vermin, is because they're not trying to find both sides of these issues. Most reporters are trying to do a gotcha game. Okay, always have been. They're always trying to present their point of view, their paper's point of view, their organization's point of view on things. They don't give a shit about the truth of the matter. As much as getting the story out. They're not as interested in the truth as they claim, and this is why I call them vermin. Because the vast majority of them are. They're not trying to tell people both sides of the issues. They're not trying to sit up there and say, hey, there's another side of this issue one way or the other. But I won't deny the fact that you're trying to do prep work. I'm not going to deny the fact that you're trying to take time to do this. Okay?
Yeah.
And I've got something else to say. If you are trying to present yourself as a role model, okay, then you are automatically, at that point, restricting yourself to some degree. I have no problem with you attempting to do that, okay, if that's what you're trying to do. But you've got to be very careful when you're doing that. And if you think you represent other people, do you? Are you sure? And the reason I'm asking this is, are you going to be acting in a way that they feel being represented is?
Huh?
Okay? I've never claimed to represent anybody. Okay? Except for myself. And there's a reason for that, because I'm not anybody else than myself, right? Do I know that I, as a former member of the military, that people look at that and say, well, he's representing what people in the military are like? I know that there are people who are going to make that claim, right? But I'm not trying to represent the military, number one, right? And number two is, I don't care if the people in the military like my commentary or not. Quite frankly. Now, I think that for the most part, people would agree that, hey, he represents the military well. I'm not trying to diss the military by any stretch of imagination, right? But at the same time, I'm not doing this to be a representative of any group, right? For whatever reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm just me. Could I do a podcast? Could I do an actual show where I do a lot of prep work and then try and bring on an actual show? I probably could. It would take me time. The only question I have about that is do I want to spend the time and put in the investment to do this?
Your answer?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd have. The reason for that is I don't know if I'd have had fun with it. Right?
Fair. In my humble opinion, could you do it? Yes. Could you do it well? Yes. Would you enjoy it? Actually, I don't think you would. I think you actually like the off the cuff of your streams, to be honest with you.
Well,
because it means that you can say how you feel in that instant rather than follow page 27 and detail this, and this.
That's very true. That's very true. It's a very,
Mm-hmm.
very, very thing because it would sacrifice other things. It would sacrifice a lot of some of the spontaneity.
Yeah.
Not a lot of it. It sacrifice at least some of the spontaneity, right? Which I enjoy. All right, I enjoy
Yes.
reacting things on a spontaneous kind of level. At the same time, okay, it would enhance my ability to communicate. Okay, to actually get my points across. All right, but then again, what am I trying to get across? What am I trying? Am I trying to sit up there and talk logic? Am I trying to talk emotion? Right? If you go down the road where you're trying to put out a product like this, you've got to be taking into account your audience, and then you're trying to, well, quite frankly, sway your audience. And I say sway rather than use a term like manipulate, right? Because I'm not trying to manipulate anybody, right? I don't really care. I hate to say that.
I waited for that. I knew that was the next line.
Right? I don't care if people like what I say or don't like what I say for the most part. Right? I'm a human being. Don't get me wrong. I'm a human being. Does it puff an ego to some degree when you see people agreeing with you and so forth? Reinforcing your viewpoints. Of course it does. It's like everybody else. Right? Does it irritate me when people disagree with me? Well, I shouldn't say irritate, but does it bother me? In a certain sense, especially if what I'm saying is being misunderstood or mischaracterized,
Oh yeah.
which is Twitter entirely. Okay, let's be perfectly frank. That's what Twitter actually all Twitter is. You can see it, like I said. You can watch what they're trying to claim is happening on these in these hearings right now. That are on Capitol Hill that are just meaningless, right?
Oh yeah.
Just absolutely meaningless, right? They're trying to capitalize, of course, on the court rulings that have been coming out. But it's not
Yeah.
that I don't appreciate a well reasoned argument or a well discussed argument. But if you're going to be talking about sports, okay, and sports media, and this is what your genre is going to be, okay, and you come back and say, I watch sports all day because I want it because it's my job.
Huh?
Okay. I watch these people. I check these things. That it's part of what I'm doing so that I can put out a good podcast. Okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that except for the fact that you're listen to what you just said. You watch sports all day. That's what you do all day long.
Yeah.
Do you see my point?
Oh yeah.
Right? What are you really doing in life? With all due respect, it's not that something like that doesn't have a place. You're part of an entertainment field, and I understand that. The issue that I begin to have with that is the moment you start talking politics.
Yes.
Okay? Because then, at that very moment, you're no longer a sports reporter. You're no longer a journalist. Okay? You're just another person who has an opinion about politics. And most likely, it's an ignorant opinion about politics because you've never thought about politics. You've been following sports. You've been trying to analyze sports and do all these things. Well, Nomad hasn't screamed my ears off since it started my just riot. I told people I wasn't going to go off on a loony kind of rant today. I was just going to talk. I told you that earlier. It was Mike Jensen. My intent was not to
Okay.
not to go on this.
I have a response for Jacob.
Oh, what's your?
I had to put that.
Oh
I
my
really
god!
did.
I'm Ryan Johnson, everybody. I'm subverting your expectations. No. Well, perhaps I am subverting some expectations, but that's not the intent of this. Right? I can discuss these things in a rational mode. I could discuss the well, I could attempt to discuss the commentary by CSG in a rational mode,
Oh,
but CSG
no,
needs to
God.
be all right. CSG, you need to be flogged, dude.
Harsh? Dude, that's a little harsh. Come on. I'm not disagreeing, but it's a little harsh.
It's the only way to get his attention. Right? He was, let's be
Yeah.
honest, he was out of control. Right?
Yeah.
Dude.
I have to say, it did sort of make my brain freeze a little bit when he was excusing the it won't lick itself comment. That, my brain just sort of, how?
It's about whether he likes it or not. It's about sexuality. It has nothing. It has no place. It has
Yes.
no place in the public square. You can have a place in the family square behind closed doors if you want to leave it there, and that's where it stays. But don't come back and
Yes.
try and tell me it's something that it isn't. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
people living their own lives. It's the same problem when they talk about Colin Kaepernick. Like what this lady put out. Colin Kaepernick lost his job because he was kneeling, and he didn't ask other people to kneel. Other people knelt with him, so he lost his job. That is not what happened. You're a liar.
Yeah.
You're lying. You are intentionally mischaracterizing, all right, why Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job. You're also mischaracterizing what he was doing. You're mischaracterizing the entire thing, right?
Yeah.
What he was doing was trying to spit on America, and sure, he got a lot of other people to help spit on America, but that's not why he lost his job. He lost his job because he can't. He was a shit quarterback, all right, who wasn't getting better. He was getting worse because he was focusing on politics rather than being an entertainer on a football field. His goal, right, okay, was no longer football. The only reason that football is even mentioned is it gave him a platform for what his real goal was, which was social activism. All right, Marxist activism, actually. Right. It is. It is. It's amazing to me. And these people on Twitter, you can't discuss things with them. Okay, I don't like it. You know, all right. You can't discuss these things. You can't talk to people on Twitter. Right? You can't talk to other people because they don't want to listen. Even the commentary from people like Styx Hexenhammer, who Styx Hexenhammer isn't a horrible individual, right? He's an asshole. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He is someone, for whatever reason, comes across as I don't know why. I do not know why anybody listens to Styx Hexenhammer from the standpoint of rhetoric. Aside from, I use him as a sounding board, right, to see what he is, because he is the one thing he is that he is in touch with for whatever reason. He is in touch with most of these Twitterati kind of people, right?
Yeah.
He has a different viewpoint because he grew up in a different environment, right? And he has a concentration on things that, quite frankly, are periphery to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that he's doing anything from an analysis. What are you complaining? I'm not complaining about anything.
You know, if we have the clear thinking Shirati with us.
I'm not going on any kind of major rant, so people are just like, "What the hell is this?" Styx regurgitates his typical bland centrist takes, right? People like familiarity.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never understood why people like Styx, because he's, all right. First of all, the problem I personally have with Styx on a personal type of level is the fact that his viewpoint of society is inaccurate. right? Because it's so incomplete. This is the
Mm-hmm.
problem, and I think that Jensen, you're the same way. One of the good things about the military is
Mm-hmm.
it broadens your view of humanity, in that you are seeing how other people live in an entire different environments, in entire different cultural settings, and how they differ.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have to point out one thing, okay? In my case, it just lowered my expectations for humanity. But that's me. That's something. Okay?
I'm not saying it lowered my expectations of humanity. It did change some of my viewpoints of humanity. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because you're looking at things and you're saying, okay, how are they? People are coming back with different conclusions, and you listen to their conclusions, and as long as you take an understanding that their conclusions are coming from a specific set of upbringing, right? You realize where they're coming from. Doesn't mean you agree with it. Okay, don't misunderstand me. There's a lot of times that people will sit up there and come who do not have the same worldview that you have, but where they're coming from is from a place of absolute ignorance. Okay,
Yeah. But yeah.
and that's most of the people on the left. All right, they're coming from a place of absolute ignorance. You had you had riots in L.A. Why are you rioting in L.A.? About Roe v. Wade? Are you making any kind of commentary right now about Roe v. Wade in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
There's no there's no effect for you people. What are you getting on a bullhorn for and trying to block traffic and all upset about it?
How dare other people have an opinion that's not the same as me?
Right? Seriously, and what bothers me is you don't see anybody asking any of these cretins that question.
No.
You don't have these other people sitting up there asking these kind of questions. No, these people are authoritarian asshats, right? And you have nobody in the media for the most part. They're all back in this kind of nonsense. Sports people or the sports people commentary that are commentating on politics. They're all doing the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're all bloviating about the issue, which is my biggest issue with reporters in general. Is you're not talking about anything worth a damn right now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even know, you're talking from a place of ignorance. You haven't thought about what rights really are. You haven't thought about what laws really are. You haven't thought about how things should be working and why things are breaking down now, as long as you get your way. All right? And you haven't been asked act like an adult. I could show you guys that make commentary, right? Showing these TikTok things where this woman, for example, was just crying, "Why doesn't my government care about me?" You're an idiot. How is that an adult statement? How is this coming from someone who's an adult, and why is it that no one is looking at her and the vast majority of people going, grow the hell up? This person should be being ostracized for acting like a 2-year-old when they're obviously in their 20s. Even if you were in your early teens, you should be ostracized. All right? And what I mean by that in this case is you should be taken into account and told you are acting like a child. What the hell is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
Where are these people? You want to see how far society in Western culture has sank, is the fact that there's almost nobody telling her that. There's absolutely almost nobody responding with that viewpoint to her.
Greg has an opinion you might want to take note of. Better question, Nomad. Why haven't we put these people down like dogs?
I have
an opinion on that, but I don't know if it should be said in a public arena without causing
Why
problems.
why haven't we put these people down like dogs?
Yeah,
You gonna do it?
I would. Okay, I'm telling you
I
now.
did I did I did I did ask that question, Jensen. I wasn't asking that of you. Okay.
Okay.
All right, I understand this. All right. Why haven't you put
Hmm.
these people down like dogs? Now, first of all, killing them. All right. Is it going to come to that? I believe that eventually it will. All right, because it's going to come to that to where these people become a threat to everybody around them. Okay, that's the reality. All right, when people perceive other people as threats, that's when they take action. And when when a group in society perceives other groups of society as such a great a threat to themselves, they will take
Mm-hmm.
they will take violent action. All
Yeah.
right. Now, so what's the violent action? Right? Why are these people being violent? And they are being violent. All right. Don't let anybody tell you that these are peaceful marchers. This is not peaceful. When you block a roadway illegally, all right, you're not being peaceful. All right. You're getting in front of other people and trying to inhibit them physically inhibit them. That's a form of violence,
Yeah.
and it needs to be stated as such. They've gone past the line into a form of physical violence. Now, is it a form of physical violence individually? Not exactly per se, but it is a form of physical violence.
Mm-hmm.
When you burn down somebody's house, is that a form of violence? Well, as long as there's nobody in it, they're not. They're not. Is it violent though? It is a form of physical violence, right? Because it's a physical action and it's having physical consequences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if somebody comes on TikTok and cries about the government, why doesn't the government care about me? Why do you think the government should care about you? Where the hell do you live? Do you live in America or do you live in freaking communist China, where you're a good communist little toady and you're expecting to get something from the government?
Mm-hmm.
Where were you, all right, when you were taught about the difference between America and the rest of the world, all right, when it came to the government? The government's not supposed to care about you. It's
Yeah.
not.
No, I agree. Sorry, I'm laughing at what Matt just put, but give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Kill a man, you have to hear his bullshit ever again. He's not wrong. He is not wrong.
I don't think that is exactly. I don't think that's the exact way we should be doing this or coming about this necessarily. Right?
Yeah. By the way, just so you know, I've put a couple of things in your DM. They are for a story I would like to talk about near the end. Do let me know when.
Oh my goodness!
I would take a look before.
You put things in my DMs. Jensen, you always
Yes.
worry me when you put things in my DMs.
Oh, you cannot even begin to imagine how accurate that statement is.
I
Okay.
what is this?
Shall I do my story now?
Well, no, I'm trying to understand. Hold on a second. I mean, let's
Yeah.
let me get back to OBS here so I can
Yeah. Yeah.
just to show people this screen here.
Mm-hmm.
Just wait a second, folks, because I have to change the screen. I know that. All right.
The thing, people. Everyone, calm down.
There you go.
Whip that. Make it go faster.
Okay, there you go. What is this about?
Oh god. Oh god. Yeah, you showed it. Okay, right. There is a gentleman in England known as Lawrence Fox. That is the picture of that gentleman there.
Okay.
Now, he to prove that the pride flag is dodgy, did this and turned that into his icon on Twitter. Twitter has banned him absolutely for doing this. How dare he do that to Twitter? Now, if you notice underneath it, there is a second one, and that was actually done by somebody and put on Twitter, and that person hasn't been banned, but Lawrence Fox has. Interesting. Now, I realise that this is your channel and possibly less of a free speech channel than...
For people who are wondering what he's talking about, I forgot to put this out there. This is the what he's saying is not banned.
Yes.
So back. So.
Yes.
Now, quite frankly, are these people acting as if they're Nazis? Yeah, they are. All right. With the exception of, it's not a quote unquote racial kind of connotation, and that's the only difference. With the Nazis, everybody focused on the fact that they were trying to kill the Jews, right?
Yes.
They were trying to eradicate the whole Jewish race.
Yep.
They were. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
There was, and they put a higher priority on that than winning World War II. I want you to think about that, folks.
They must really hate them. Just saying.
Okay, this is something that I don't think people understand about the Nazi regime. They were sacrificing sending logistical material support to the frontline troops in favor of making sure that they were killing Jewish people. All right? In concentration camps and so forth.
Yeah.
That was their priority. Okay? You're letting your troops die on the front lines just so you can throw another one in an oven. Okay? When people talk about the evil of the Nazis, that is what is one of the things that has, and it needs to be stressed and it needs to be explained. Okay? Yeah. You can dislike the communists, right? You can think that we need to end the communist threat, and the biggest communist threat is Russia because that's where communism began. It was the home of communism, right? Where it was taken over, and they were funding, and they're doing a lot of funding of the Comintern and a lot of these communist movements around the world to destabilize the world, so they could create the great communist revolution that would be led by the Russians. Right?
Yes.
They were doing this. There's reasons that people have to understand that what communism is bad. But the Nazis were willing, even though they said communism was bad, their priority wasn't ending communism. Their priority was killing Jews.
I mean, I'm not saying it was, I'm not saying it wasn't, but it's feasible once all of the Jews were dealt with. Perhaps they'd have gone on to communism, you know. I'm not defending the good. I just want it noted, Brits, we were the ones that stood up against this on our own, while the rest of the world sat there and went, "Oh God, oh God, oh God."
Well, not all the rest.
I'm not defending.
Hold on. Now you guys came to the point where you were the only ones left because the other ones who started went, "We quit," and raised the white flag. That's a little different. Or we were saying, it's your frickin' mess, fix it. Okay?
Yes.
Which is exactly what the U.S. was saying at the time. You guys made the mess, deal with it.
Just so you know, I wasn't actually putting a dig against you lot. Now, that's interesting that you went to defending yourself, but I wasn't actually saying anything about you guys. I was pointing out that the rest of Europe basically wet their panties and ran hid.
You said that
we were the only ones that were left.
You said you were alone.
We were.
You weren't completely alone, because the U.S. was helping you. You have to admit that.
Yeah, and do you also want to mention who else they were helping? Or do we really want to go on to that conversation?
At that time, we were not sitting up there sending supplies to Nazi Germany or anybody else.
Yes, you was.
No, we weren't. We could. How could we trade, right, when you had the British fleet preventing it.
You were still providing them, I believe it was weapons or ammunition.
No, we weren't.
At the
Because we couldn't get it there. How, what were we, teleporting it? Did we have a secret teleporter?
No, you was trading it by hiding it on
Well, we were hiding it.
cruise ships and things like that.
We were not hiding it on cruise. What cruise ships were going to go visit the Nazi Germany? What cruise ships were stopping by? All right, saying, "Oh, we're having a stop over here in Hanover, by the way." That's
The
nonsense.
ones going to Italy.
Okay.
If we're actually going to say it,
The
the
ones-
ones going to Italy and then transported
We
from
were
Italy
not.
to Germany.
We were not sending anything to Italy, all right, because it had to go through the Straits of Gibraltar. How the hell were you letting anything through?
Because you were flying the American flag, not the German flag. If it was German flag, we would attempt to sunk your ass. But it wasn't, so it was like,
If we
we'll
were
let these guys
heading
through.
to Italy, you were going to sink it anyway.
Not back at
Don't act like you guys. Oh, it's an American flag on its way to Italy. If we had said we were sending something to Italy or trying to arrive on any foreign port that you had declared a blockade for, and don't tell me you didn't declare a blockade against the Italians, okay?
when you do this, I'm pointing out 1939 to 1940. That was when you was getting away with this. Were you trading with us? Yes. But I have said it before.
Okay.
You were basically
In
shuffling both sides against
in
me.
the 1939, okay, you guys went to war with Germany. You did not go to war with Italy. That came later.
I agree.
Okay,
I agree.
So don't tell me we were supplying Italy and then therefore we were supplying
no.
Germany.
You were not. Right. No, I see where you're going. In that case, I apologise for not describing it properly. You were actually dropping off at Italy, and it was being transported to the Nazis. Not that you were providing it to Italy; you were providing it to Germans via Italy.
If we were going to provide any kind of real things to Germany, all right, the one thing that the Germans desperately needed, okay, wasn't arms.
Food.
Wasn't weapon. It was food.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Now, we were not transporting a lot of food that was going around at that point.
No, one, we hadn't worked out true refrigeration properly. Two, you was getting more money by selling ammunition to both sides. I'm not actually saying that any side was wrong with this. And I actually didn't bring up the thing with Germany and the trading. That was you. Don't blame me for this one.
We were not given the Germans, all right, material weaponry. Now there were some things that were quite interesting, all right, before America got into the war, okay, because many Americans did not, up until the point where and you got to understand this, up to the point where we were attacked by Japan.
Yeah.
Okay, America was heavily, and I mean heavily, isolationist.
Yes.
Okay, and the reason for that was you lot. Not specifically Britain, but the Europeans as a whole. Okay?
We are not European, Mexican.
You know what I mean. All right.
I know, but nonetheless.
All right. You are the British Isles part of the European continent?
No, we're actually off the coast, so technically no.
You're a part of are you on the European plate?
Are you on the Mexican plate?
No, we're not.
San Andreas.
Okay, that's a different fault line entirely. All right.
But nonetheless, it goes down via Mexico and travels into North America. So.
But we're on the North American plate. I mean, so that's not
a
Mexican plate. There's a North American plate. All right, we are on the North American, and most of Mexico is on it as well. That's very true, but not all of Mexico. Yeah. Number one.
Okay. You know what? I I'm sorry, you're not Mexican. You're Canadian. It's even worse.
Calling us Canadians would be worse. I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is we were not shipping arms for the most part over to Europe to near the extent that we were shipping arms, all right, to Britain.
Oh yeah, like I said, playing both sides against the middle. I'm not disagreeing with what you did.
Here's a bullet. We're gonna give these guys a bullet. We're gonna give these guys a destroyer. I think there's a disparity thing here. We were not playing both sides, really. That's not saying you're playing both sides, Jensen.
You realised you wanted to be on the side that was going to win. That was all.
You realize that whatever side we came in on, we was going to win. There's another way to look at this.
No, you say that, okay, and you are actually 90% right. But here's the 10%. And that is the fact that there was no way you were going to work with Germany because Germany had allied with Japan, and hell, it was Japan that sunk your fleet.
No. So, well, the Japan sinking the U.S. fleet was a problem for us.
A little bit.
And the reality is we were not going to come on once that took place. But we're talking prior to this. Okay? Mm-hmm. We're talking prior to it, where somebody in their infinite minds can think, okay, well, this is what would happen. No. I can tell. All right, all right. There was a guy who did a what if the United States joined the Nazis joined Germany rather than Britain during World War II, right? You were the one who showed me that YouTube video, and I watched it and so forth, and he asked me what I thought. Mm-hmm. And there's one thing that I didn't really comment on at the time, and I'm going to comment on now. The lack of this guy's understanding about the United States. Right? If, let's use this. Let's say that Germany declared war against Japan.
Huh?
Okay. Prior to all of this going on, Hitler does not declare war against the United States. All right. If Hitler did not declare war against the United States, would the United States, and what's worse is in their what-if scenario, not only does Hitler not declare war on the United States, but Britain allies with Japan.
I know, that part, I will admit, that part confuses the hell out of me. But
at that point, we would have gone to war with Britain. I'm not going to deny that, all right, and we would have joined the side of Germany. But one of the things that would have happened, okay, that they don't look at, is in that scenario at the time, the British fleet couldn't stop certain things, right? And it would have been a war of attrition in a manner that would be unbelievable. First of all, not only do you end Lend-Lease, okay, but the American fleet, the Atlantic fleet, okay, is going to be put to duties of Americans shipping to France and thereby to Germany, right? Oil.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the German war machine isn't suffering from a lack of oil.
Yeah.
This would have been devastating, okay? Because now their machines can run full bore, right? Yes. Not only that, America, because of the way the war was, would have gone to war against Russia. There were a lot of Americans that wanted to go against war with Russia even before then. Okay? The fact that we were involved in this and that the British had allied with Russia would have caused us to deliver heavy bombers and long distance bombers to the Germans, all right, on the Russian front. Okay, now what would this have done? Well, I mean, what could that have done? Well, it just so happens that with those bombers, you know what's in range? All the Russian oil fields.
Yep. I'm
So
not disagreeing with you here.
So this idea that the Russians would still be able to take the fight to the Germans becomes absolutely nonsensical when the Russian war machine requires oil. In fact, they were able to supply their tanks with oil where the Germans weren't. Well, what if the Germans could and they couldn't? And let's be honest, they would not have been able to build those areas back. We'd have bombed their freaking oil fields into oblivion, right? And there wouldn't have been any Russian oil, all right? Their depots and all the logistics, the chains would have been completely gone. They'd have been back to playing the game that they had prior to that, which was we're not able to get the logistics to the front. There was no Russian fleet. Okay, where was Russia going to sit up there and get its oil from? You bombed what was it, Baikonur? What is that place? Not Baikonur. The
Sorry,
big oil.
don't know the area.
There's a huge oil field, and it is within range of U.S. bombers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are you kidding me? If the United States, first of all, let's be perfectly frank, Africa would be gone.
Yes.
Okay. You would have had to give up Africa almost immediately. Right? Egypt, all that other stuff, it would have been gone. And right there you got Rommel with US. You're going to give Rommel with US supplied tanks. What do you think's going to happen? Right? They weren't the best tanks in the world. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is the best tanks in the world. But Rommel being able to ship tanks, he doesn't have to worry about his supply lines coming across the Med, which are being interdicted by the British, by the British,
Yep.
code breakers and everything, right? Which leads to another problem, right? Because Americans would have figured out pretty quickly that you guys had broken the German codes. We were really good at counter things like that. We really are. Okay.
I'm not saying that you're not now, but I don't know back then. I actually don't
Our
know
intelligence services were. Let's be honest. Americans understand one thing about themselves, right? We know that we know we're yap. We know we talk all the time, okay?
Yes.
And so we talk all sorts of, let's be honest, we talk all sorts of shit too, just to see what the enemy does. When we talk shit in certain ways, we'd have figured out pretty quick. Just like when with our code breakers going at it at Midway, right? We figured out pretty quick that let's try this here and see how the reaction is by the Japanese. So this is Midway. Okay, I'm not saying our code breakers were nearly as good as what was going on at Bletchley Park. They're not, but we would have figured out that they would have had it if we keep moving ships there. They're like, okay, well, where's the leak?
Yep.
Okay. If the British fleet keeps showing up at the wrong place at the wrong time, we're gonna be like, okay, who's yapping? And okay, and it would have been quickly figured out. Oh, somewhere in Germany you've got a leak. And if you tell the Germans that, let's be honest, they'd have figured it out pretty quick, right? That their codes had been broken, right? That's one of the things that would have happened. Number one. Number two is with Russia not on the side of Japan but on the side of Japan. All right. Their conquest, the Japanese conquest of China, changes dramatically. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is something. There's another aspect of that they don't talk about. But American long-range bombers, for the most part, the American long-range bombers would have had a devastating effect. Okay, especially if they were being protected by the German fighters, right?
Yeah.
It would have had a devastating effect on the Russian campaign. It also would have had a devastating effect, quite frankly, on the British campaign. Okay, American bombers are no longer in Britain, but the American bombers are now being, screened by the German Air Force. Let's be honest. Okay, British industry would have been crippled almost immediately.
Yep.
And not just because the Americans would be able to sit up there and stop shipments of food and grain and everything else coming from the North American supply line. Trust me, Canada would have ceased to exist.
No, I know. I know.
Right? It wouldn't have been fast, but you know what would have been fast? The ability to take the areas that were necessary for shipping supplies over to Britain would have ended.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and let's be honest, you guys couldn't have helped them.
No, dude. I know we're too far away to do anything. And the thing is, okay, you keep pointing out that England would get crushed. Yes, but just remember, England is a tiny little country. You do have states bigger than my entire country, and yet somehow, at that point in time, pretty much the whole world was, oh crap, what's England up to?
Well, no, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
No. Dude. No, I'm not saying this to big up England. I'm saying this because I just don't understand quite why. We weren't that important.
Why you were? Well, because you were important.
Yeah, but
everything you got to understand something. Okay, there's certain things that happen throughout history, right? Where small little areas become a focal point of everything. You all you have to do is look at history, right? During the Renaissance, you had cities like Florence that became the center of the universe. All right, for all practical purposes, it became the center, and the reason it became the center, right, was because all innovations, for the most part, the massive amounts of innovation sprang from there. When you end up with the British, right, the reason the British conquer the world is because innovation, you became the core of innovation for the Western world, whether people want to admit this or not. Everything was being revolved around the innovations that were coming out of Britain more than anything else. The British increased textiles. The British increased steel production. The British invented all these things came from Britain. The core of innovation came from Britain. All right, from the 1600s through the mid 1800s, almost all innovation comes from Britain, or is focused in a large part on Britain. Okay, I don't deny that. Okay, right, or that existed, or even that took place. Now, am I proud about Americans' innovations as well? Our innovations were in a different manner, though. We were inventing things in an entire different direction that eventually allowed us to eclipse this. But at the time period, let's be perfectly frank, while you were industrializing, Americans were not. Okay, Americans' focus was not on industrial output. This is something people don't understand. When Britain was industrializing and leading the Industrial Revolution in America, the focus is, I want a home and a farm. I want a homestead. Yeah. I want to be left alone. And that was the American dream. The American dream was to an extent. It is, all right. But once again, that shows you the difference between the focus of your nation versus the focus of our nation. It wasn't that our nation, the United States, couldn't industrialize. Let's be honest. We've always had the potential industrial might of the United States always existed.
Yeah.
Okay. Even when the United States was fighting the Revolutionary War, Britain did understand one thing, is that the potential of America to industrialize and the industrialization capabilities possible are awesome in this nation. But it wasn't the focus. Most people didn't want to be that. Most people didn't want to be factory owners. There are always a few, but most people didn't care about them. Most people didn't want to work in factories. Most Americans didn't want to live in cities. Honestly.
Yep.
This is something.
No.
Right. But that had already changed in Britain. Let's be honest. All right, most people did want to go to the city already in Britain. By the 1700s, most people wanted to live in the cities. They wanted to go to the cities. They wanted to go there. It was an entire differential mindset that was going on during that time frame, and it allowed you to industrialize far faster than everybody else. And with that industrialization and with that capacity, and the fact that you were leading innovations, you conquered the world.
Yeah.
Well,
So, by the way,
section.
do you know why we conquered the world, don't you? Actually, it's really funny. We thought we'd like spices. We found out we didn't. And this way, if we conquer people, they won't attack us back.
You want to
We've
know
never-
the reason you guys conquered the world was because
Go on.
your royals
Mm-hmm.
couldn't say no. Okay?
Also true.
All right?
Yeah.
It has very little to do with I mean, let's be honest. Queen Elizabeth, when Drake did what he did, all right, and he came back, what she should have done and what she didn't do because she couldn't tell him no are two different things. Okay, if she'd have reined in Drake, you guys never would have sit up there and conquered the world.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's be perfectly frank here. When Francis Drake, all right, came back with all this booty of Spanish gold, she had a treaty with Spain and said, you know what? I could put you in jail. They're calling for your head. I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna tell you no. Okay.
So what you're telling me is just like a woman to fall to pieces of gold. Okay, good to know.
Well, he came back with a lot of gold.
I'm not wrong, am I? I am not wrong, am I?
He came back with a lot of shinies for her. So I mean, let's be honest. It wasn't just a little bit of shinies. It was a lot of shinies he came back with, right?
Oh yeah.
And the fact is she wanted to stick it to Spain, and she wanted to stick it to several other people, but Spain mainly. Now I don't know why she had an ass about Spain, okay? But she had a case of the ass about Spain.
I can actually tell you if you want. Is that because she was a Protestant and Spain Roman Catholic? It was literally a religious thing.
It was beyond that. All right.
That was a start. All right.
See, the thing is it's like you guys at the time were reserving that kind. She had the same kind of animosity towards Spain that you reserve still for France. Now, maybe it was because Spain was supporting France. Maybe that was an added benefit to it. Okay, but let's be honest. It had more to do with the French than anything. Her attitude toward the Spanish was absolutely beyond the pale. Right now, part of it I understand is a Protestant thing. I understand you just came out of the reign of terror, Bloody Mary, right? For those who don't know, okay, the Queen before Elizabeth was Mary. Okay, Mary was the daughter of Henry VIII, all right, from Catherine, right, his first wife.
Yeah, Catherine of Aragon. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the question I always had about Mary was, why didn't you marry and bear an offspring? You could have avoided all this.
Yeah.
All right, if you're supposed to be this good little Catholic, okay.
I know.
You see my point, right? You understand what I'm saying?
Dude. You should have been pushing out kids 1, maybe 2 a year. I completely agree.
All right. What you did was sit up there and go, I'm a strong, independent woman, not going to have no man tell me what to do. And you died childless. Okay?
Yep.
Which kind of set a standard I don't understand, because Elizabeth was the same way.
Yeah. She was, after all, known as the Hem Virgin Queen.
All right.
Notes the Hem.
Well, okay, but the thing is, Why you went that way? But no. But as far as if you're wondering why Britain was able to succeed, like I said, you became the core of the universe. Of the
So
world.
one moment, Matt. Really, really, really. You're not wrong though, but really.
You got to admit that Elizabeth, when they're talking about Macho Man, Elizabeth, the woman that they call Elizabeth here is, she was pretty.
Yeah.
She was.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, don't disagree at all. By the way, I put something in your DM. Don't. It's not actually bad. I don't think you'll find it highly entertaining. And there we go.
This is not exactly accurate. It took them a long time to get to there. Hold on a second, folks. So I can.
I know, but you got me. It does fit quite nicely, doesn't it?
Help me! I can't. I'm broke. It's against the British. To be honest, they're like, yeah, we understand that it was against the British, but you guys suck.
Yep.
That's what was being told until the person who betrayed America, all right, actually saved America at Saratoga. All right. The American Revolution is an amazing thing. It really is. All right.
I'm calling it a revolution. It was a British Civil War.
Yeah, I know that you want to claim that we were British, okay, but we were not British, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But at the Battle of Saratoga,
Mm-hmm.
the Battle of Saratoga convinced the French that we would fight,
Yeah.
and we would fight the British. Why they didn't think that we were going to fight the British, because we were been fighting the British the whole time, right? But we're serious about fighting the British, okay? I don't know. Now, there are a lot of dunderheaded moves that the British did that brought us into the war, like what they did to Benjamin Franklin. But there's a lot of dumb shit Americans that did some things that basically did the reverse. It just it didn't. Luckily, it didn't turn out that way, and it was lucky, by the way. In fact, the major hero at Saratoga would have been and was, at the time, Benedict Arnold. Okay, and Benedict Arnold would have been our greatest general. All right, if it wasn't for the fact that how he was treated after Saratoga made him an enemy of America.
Okay. By the way, from Matt, as soon as we stepped on foot on North America, burger and guns formed in our hands. I actually believe that is distinctly possible. And fireworks went off. Yeah.
You're lucky.
He's not wrong there.
You're lucky we haven't tried to spread that like a religion. Guns and burgers for all. We're here to free you.
Yeah, should I mention freedom fries, or do I keep quiet about this?
I don't know why we call them French fries, because it wasn't a French invention anyway.
No.
I really don't know why they're called French fries. They're not French in any way, shape, or form. They weren't developed in France. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, weren't they developed in Ireland?
Yeah, well, you basically yet another thing you nicked off of us. You actually I think you call them French fries literally.
That's hold on here. We didn't nick those off of you, okay? The fact is, you guys basically said we don't want anything to do with the Irish, and you created the entire potato famine. Don't come back and say we nicked these things. You basically said go out of here and kick them out.
Now then, as you wanted to bring up this, let's see. Which country was it that created the potato famine by giving the potato blight via the black flies? Was it England? No, that's right. Let's go to the west. Oh, bugger me blind, it's America.
We did not sit up there and prevent the importation of fly-proof potatoes. You did that.
Because we wanted potatoes.
No. It's because you wanted the Irish to starve. When people said, "Hey, we got these resistant potatoes," and you said, "You ain't bringing them to freaking Ireland." All right.
You gave them the infection.
We did not. We did not give
did.
them the infection. In fact, the only reason they were using those potatoes is because, well, we'll let you have those potatoes and nothing else. Look, don't act like you were treating the Irish as, oh, you're bond brothers with us. We're not doing that.
Dude, I'm half Irish, I understand.
I'm not wrong either, am I?
No, but still you lot that gave them the infected flies. So, okay, deal with it.
Yeah,
You're not going to have me on that one. I know that one. Nice try.
The flies, or the blight, it wasn't a fly, it was a fungus.
Yes.
But may have originated in the United States, okay? But the fact that you would not...
This? Admission?
May have originated here, but the fact that you would not allow other foodstuff into the nation is also an accurate assessment as well. Okay.
Which means we're both just as bad as each other.
No, one is like, oh, you guys are starving? Sucks to be you. Well, we could give them some food. No. Let them starve. They're Irish. Okay?
And there's the other one who goes, oh, we've got infected potatoes. Let's send them to the
We did not sit up there and go, oh, we've got infected. We did not know the potatoes were infected. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we do.
Buzz. Oh, no, they must be good for you. That's why the flies are over there.
It's not
Dude, you had two choices here. Either one, you did it, or two, you're an idiot.
No.
So, which one are you going with?
We're Americans. Of course we're idiots.
Oh, okay, that's a fair point. All right. From Matt.
Let's be honest here.
From Matt, infected with freedom.
I've never said that Americans are the wisest of people. Have I ever said that wisdom starts in America?
Not yet, no. We'll admit that much.
Okay, we've never said that we've been wise people. We were a very religious people, and we were a very compassionate people. All right, we're also a very vengeful and vicious people. Okay.
I would actually say not only are you compassionate, but you are passionate as a people.
We can be, right?
Yes.
To a large extent, but the reality is we have our. I've never said that we don't have our foibles. I mean that's pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but to say that we we caused the problem and then sat back and didn't do anything to try and now we may have caused something inadvertently. The difference is that it's inadvertent. Your starvation of Ireland was not inadvertent. Okay?
No, it wasn't. I agree.
A lot of people want to claim that, for example, the spread of smallpox to the native populations in America, they happened, but they didn't happen as a matter of policy. All right? Anybody who tries to say that it was is a liar.
No, that was actually the British with the Indians.
Well, once again, it wasn't a matter of policy. Were there British that talked about it? Yes. But the reality is there was no policy to try and get rid of and denude the Indians. That was a matter of policy. Did it happen? Yeah. Did it happen because... Did it happen by people intentionally giving people smallpox? No. Okay? In fact...
I'd like to make a point here, dude. When I say Indians, I literally mean Indians as in people from India. Not Native Americans. We actually gave the people in India infected blankets deliberately.
Well,
yes. I never said we were nice people.
Why?
By any stretch. Did they die? Yes. Did it make it easier for us to invade their lands? Yes. Was it easier overall for us to get what we wanted from them? Yes.
Did
some result, we benefit.
When you say did they die? Did a few of them die?
A large amount of them died, in fact.
What do you mean a large amount?
Several million.
I don't think several million died in India.
Oh no, we slaughtered the Indians. I'm not actually kidding with this. That was not our good moment. Let's put it that way. You could look at that as our Nazi moment, if you wish. And you wouldn't be wrong.
The Indian smallpox epidemic in the 1545. I don't think that you guys even knew what smallpox was in 1545.
No, but we knew that the blankets had something on it that caused people to be ill, and we passed on the blanket. Did we know what it was? Not necessarily. Did we still use it? Hell yes.
Yeah, but it was. I'm trying to figure out.
Basically, we used it the way you guys did. We just did it on an industrial scale.
Well, but the Indians. I mean, smallpox was not unknown in India before you guys sent blankets over.
I know. No, that's true.
Okay, and so the thing is, smallpox. Was there an epidemic in the 1500s? Well, yeah, but to be honest, there were smallpox epidemics all over the place here and there. Number one,
True.
And I don't know if you understood that the blankets would necessarily have. Now that maybe there was a policy to do that. I don't know. All right. I really can't speak to that, but I didn't think the Indian, if there was going to be a group of people that are immune to disease, it's going to be the Indians. Let's be honest, because they've had everything first to begin with, right?
True.
I mean, they're a breeding ground of disease. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah. Fair.
Right, the Chinese were like trying to hold my beer with COVID. That's all China did. And to be honest, India was like initially they were scared of it, and then they realized, what's this? It's like mouthwash. Let's be. Am I wrong?
No.
Were there? You had a population of 1 billion people in India. Did you have 100 million people dying of smallpox or of COVID? No, you did not. All right. Because that's what it would have been if you try to compare it to the United States. It would have been 100 million people. Were there 100 million deaths in a year in India over smallpox or over COVID? No. Now, granted, it had to compete with all these other diseases that are down there, but you get my point.
True.
Right. I'm not trying to wish evil on anybody or even say anything like that. But when it came to smallpox and Americans and the Indians, it was not a matter of policy and stuff. Now smallpox did happen, right? But the worst, I think your worst thing that you ever did was what you did with from a British standpoint, was how you treated the Irish during the potato famine, because you basically, it was your policy to starve them to death.
Yes.
And that to me, most Americans don't even realize it, how bad it was. Well, honestly.
Oh no.
We look at that and go, "What are you talking about?" No, it was national policy to starve them to death.
You know that technically, the policy that I'm discussing about India actually came from the Irish. We tried it on the Irish, realised, oh bugger me, this works. Let's kill off that lot as well. I don't know why you're laughing. You lot did it to the Native Americans.
We did not do
Maybe
that.
Maybe it was unintentional.
We did not do that to
Maybe.
the Native Americans, right? We did not. Okay. Were there all right, first of all, you got to remember something about America, and this is what people don't understand. When you talk about American policy, when you talk about American foreign policy and so forth, right, and America as our foreign policy, too many people forget what the nation was like, right? The power of the states, all right, was far and away above what the federal power was, right? Even after the Civil War, the power of the states is still a whole lot different than what you see today.
Yeah.
Okay. There was no federal policy of extermination against the Native Americans. Okay, did certain states try to crush the Native Americans as they became states? Oh, hell yes. All right, mainly because if you try to establish a state, you have to establish permanent residences, all right, that don't live, and the nomadic lifestyles cannot continue to exist. And before somebody talks about, well, that meant you had to change their way of life. Yeah, it did. You had a Stone Age culture. It had to change.
Yep.
Okay, it couldn't exist anymore. But you know
Which,
what?
if you think about it, that's kind of how Britain felt about India. Just saying.
You know who else's lifestyle was crushed in the matter of a few decades?
What?
The cowboys.
True.
The open range had about a 50-year existence at most. All right, life on the open range, the idea of the cowboy on his lonely little trails, herding cattle for the great cattle drives. The great cattle drives didn't last more than 30 years.
Yeah.
Welcome to America. So the idea that only Native Americans were forced to make accommodations, no. Americans as a whole have always been forced to make accommodations for one another. And when they decided not to make accommodations for one another, we had a civil war. We're headed there again.
Yeah.
All right. To be honest, but those things do exist. I've been going now for what, a couple hours here now.
Hour and 20, but yeah, well, hour and 25, yeah.
So
yeah.
It's been long enough, so I think that I've yapped enough and bent people's ears. But for the most part, I didn't. I got done what I wanted to, which was to basically talk about, my views and so forth. The only thing that I have a question is do people really want to have more of a serious type of discussion with these things, or would they prefer just more of an entertainment kind of a feel? Because I can do either one, right? I am curious to see which one it is. The show would definitely change in a lot of ways. I mean, well, I'll be honest with you. I can purposely rant. All right, I could do a show there where once a week it's a real rant show where I go off like Sam Kinison. All right.
Yeah, but it takes you the rest of the week to recover, dude. Just remember, I remember how bad your throat got. Okay.
It does. But you got to admit it was a fun show.
Oh, hell yeah! And Matt, you didn't look hard enough.
Just this one thing. Just anyway. just this. I think we're done now. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. I hope that you all enjoyed the show, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye bye, everybody. And we're done.
Oh.